You could edit these, right? Whoa. Oh, you know what? That's probably my UPS package. Hold on, because I do the first shoot tomorrow.
Hey, what's up guys? It's Hannah Lynn with The Full Color Life, and I'm here with my friend Denise. She's a fashion blogger and she's awesome. So we're gonna talk to her about travel tips, kind of like what it is to be a fashion blogger and get the behind the scenes of her Instagram and blog site. So you started your blog a few years back, and it's called Fashion Love Letters.
Yeah. Talk
to me a little bit about like why you named it that, and what was the inspiration behind writing a blog? Was it always just a fashion blog?
Kind of. So I came home, so I lived in South Korea for 2 years.
Okay.
I came home at the end of 2014. I had been like reading blogs, like I read Pink Peonies, I read like Blair ADB's, like, I'm like blanking on her name now. What is it, like East Coast, West Coast? I can't think of the name.
Oh yeah, I think I know what
you know
you're
who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
She's like extravagant, she's over the top.
Right.
I loved her. And my biggest struggle was I would like buy stuff that I saw. So like I would see like, you know, Southern Curls and Pearls, or I would see Pink Peonies.
And you're like, that's cute.
So cute. And then I'd buy it and I'd get it home and I'd be like, wow, I look like a chub in this. And like, I was just like, what am I supposed to do? Like, this stuff is great, but I can't fit into it. Like, this doesn't fit my body. And I had always dressed for my body, or at least tried to. At least most of my like 20s I tried to, but yeah, you know, I just never like really played around with stuff. I never tried stuff a lot. So I'm like, okay, let me start a blog. Let me just, you know, have a little fun, see what happens. And if actually, please don't. But if you actually like go all the way back to the beginning of my blog, a lot of it was more like lifestyle. Like I did more like, oh, I went here to Indiana and I went to this food place, and I kind of like incorporated like more everyday things.
Yeah.
But then as I kept blogging, it got a lot harder to do that, of like taking like good pictures of places and then taking pictures of my fashion, and it just kind of got
too much.
Yeah. And so it just kind of became fashion. It took me a long time to come up with a blog name. I like sat and I'm like, I need a blog name. I can't think of one. I don't know. And I like, it just like popped up in my head. And I was like, oh, this is a cool name. Why don't I just do this? And that's just kind of how it came to be.
And you got the domain and...
Yeah, so I had a blog spot first because I actually like didn't really know. I was just like, oh, I'm just doing this for fun, la 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 la. Yeah. And I didn't really know anything. Like I didn't know how to buy a domain. I actually reached out to a friend of mine, and he kind of encouraged me. He was like, you know, what blog is ever gonna become big if you don't have your own domain?
Dang, he just, like,
but he was probably right. Okay, maybe I should buy it, but I didn't know how to do it. He's like, okay, use GoDaddy. I'm like, okay. So I like did GoDaddy, but I really didn't know what I was doing. So I like bought WordPress with it.
Yeah.
And I remember like looking at WordPress and being like, no, hell no.
WordPress is so overwhelming.
I remember being like, hell no. Like, I don't know how to do this. So I had her custom make one. I loved it.
Yeah.
I played around with it, but then I get sick of them after a while, and so then I like kind of have to switch it up.
It's kind of like a painting or a palette or something. You just need to change it.
Yeah.
Or it's like if you're an interior decorator, you want to like.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
That's the fun thing about design and websites. What is something that you would tell a blogger, somebody who is just starting out or wants to start a blog?
Probably to not take it so seriously. When you start taking it too seriously, it really affects you.
Yeah.
So like do it, but have fun with it. Like it's a business for me now, but when I start letting it be a business consistently is when it's like no longer fun. And then I'm just like, I hate doing this. And so I'm trying to like bring myself back there constantly.
When did you figure out that you could make this a business? Like what was the switch for you?
I would say like a few months into blogging, I was getting reached out to by companies and they were like, oh, we're gonna send you stuff. I'm like, huh? And I remember telling my dad at the time, like, oh, this company's sending me stuff. And he's like, for free? And I'm like, yeah, you know, they're sending me for free. And so I would get stuff here and there, and then I started pitching to companies, and obviously I wasn't very great because a lot didn't respond to me. I was maybe like 25K on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I was in like a group with other bloggers on Instagram, and we would just like talk about stuff. And they were like, Denise, you know you can get paid. And I'm like, I don't understand what you're saying to me. And they're like, you can get paid, like your numbers are really good. And I'm like, wait, what? Because at the time I had a full-time job. I would just be like, oh, cool, I'm getting free clothes. Like, no big deal. Like, this is great. I'll just post about this. And then I'm like, what do you mean I can get paid? And so I did my first paid campaign actually with Macy's that summer.
Did they reach out to you, or you had to?
No, I found them through like a platform.
Okay, yeah.
And I applied, and I like didn't know how much to put, so I just put like a random number, and I'm like, okay, click. And I remember my dad would be like, you got paid for that? And I'm like, yeah. Now he's just like, you know, but.
That's so cool. So when did you start learning about photography, and what's like, if someone was just starting out taking pictures for their blog, what would you tell them?
To invest in a good camera. There are a lot of people who will tell you like, oh, I do all this on my iPhone, and you know, and that's great. And I do some of the photos on my iPhone, and some of the ones on my Instagram are on my iPhone.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I feel like you can kind of always see like the graininess in the iPhone, and like those like crisp, clear pictures are so much better.
Yeah, they
like
really
I really like them. And you know, now buying like a really nice camera, they're not that expensive. You can buy a mirrorless one, they're a few $100, and you can just like get some clearer photos in like a phone.
And what kind of editing tools would you?
I actually only used iPhoto for a long time because I was like so scared of Photoshop, but now I have Photoshop and I have Lightroom, and you know, now there's like even ones on your phone, like you can do it all. Like Snapseed is one of my favorites. There's like the VSCO one, and I don't personally use that, but I know it's an option. And there's a Color Story, and so there's just so many now that it's like, oh, okay, but there just wasn't when I started, you know. And it was really like Photoshop and Lightroom, and I started using that maybe a year in, and it like game changer.
So how long has it been since you started blogging?
3.5 years.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. What's like the biggest thing that you've learned from like stepping out and doing something fun like this?
Is that it's not always fun.
It's still hard work, right? I think people don't see the behind the, because we were just talking and you said that you shoot, when you do a shoot, it's like 5 outfits, right?
And I change in my car. Yeah, I change in my car, or whatever car I'm in. So I like bring out the outfits. Everything's planned out in advance. So, because you know, I shoot in front of walls too.
Yeah.
So all of that is planned out. So like I literally map out where I'm going. So I go from like the furthest location to the closest to my house. So we'll go the furthest first and then come back towards my house.
How do you find all these walls? Because
so some of them would just be like, you know, I saw them on Instagram or wherever it was, and I just did a few here and there. All those walls were like, you know, those pictures like did so much better. And I'm like, I would say like it was a year and like 3 months. The market became like so saturated. Like people, about a year and a half in, it started becoming like more and more. There were more girls. I'm like, I need to differentiate myself. Like, and at the time, you know, I was curvy, but I never really identified as plus size. I was just like, la la, you know, whatever. And so then I kind of wanted to like do walls for 2 reasons. 1, to stand out, but 2, because there's always like this stigma with like larger women. And you know, I wouldn't consider myself like large, but I'm not like, you know, average either. There's always like this stigma that like we can't really wear color, we can't wear prints. And so I kind of started to want to wear more prints and like do more like outlandish pieces. And so like walls were part of it too, is like, how can I make all of this colorful to kind of just like break down that barrier?
Okay, so I have to ask, because you love clothes, and I always have such a hard time with like suitcases and packing things. What are some, do you have any tips for?
No. No.
Are you just as a hot mess as I am when it comes to packing?
I'm complete trash at packing. Complete. The only thing I'm good at is like packing for photo shoots. And that's because like it needs to all fit in my car, and like also because I'm like neurotic and I just like need to be able to pick it out right away and like call it a day.
Yeah.
Like if I don't have it planned out for a photo shoot, then I'm sitting there like, oh wait, which shoes? But if I have it planned out, it's like, okay, done.
Yeah.
But packing, no, I'm trash. Like I remember I went to Europe and my friend had been living there.
Yeah.
And she was staying there and she had this suitcase, and it was literally like a carry-on, right? And I come and I've got a carry-on and I've got a checked bag, and it was like, maybe I might have had 2 checked bags. Either way, it was like a lot. And she was just like, And now that I think back, I'm like, I should have like limited myself, or I should have just like bought stuff while we were there and like whatever, gotten rid of it.
Yeah.
But I wasn't like seriously blogging at the time. I was like, whatever.
So do you have any travel tips for people?
To learn the culture before you go, 100%.
Okay.
Like especially, Europe, like you can kind of get away with stuff.
Yeah.
But like when you go to like Asia or the Middle East, or if you want to do any of those countries, you really need to learn the cultural differences. And when I went to Korea, I kind of made the mistake of really not doing as much studying as I should have, because the cultural differences there are really very different. And it's even like small things that you wouldn't realize. So I would say like learn the culture, learn the religion, like know where you're going, what they believe in, because that's so important to people, and you don't want to screw that up.
Yeah.
Especially if you're gonna like start talking to people. And that's another thing too, is like making those connections. So when you're traveling and you know something about their religion or anything about their history or their culture, and you start talking to them, you get people who are like willing to take you out to dinner or show you around or tell you good places that exist, or
you make connections because you know a little bit more than...
And it's important. Like you don't want to act a fool when you're in some of these countries either, especially like a Buddhist country or something. Or like even like some of these Arab countries, and I know parts of the Middle East are really tough to travel now, but a lot of them have like really crazy laws that you don't know that they have, including Dubai. Like they have a lot of like different laws that you wouldn't know existed until you look them up. Yeah.
Cultures are so interesting to me.
Extremely.
Yeah.
Extremely.
I had a really bad experience in Alaska. I brought 2 suitcases to Alaska in a carry-on, but I didn't realize we were going to be staying in different places like almost every night.
And that's what happened to me with Europe. We like left a new place like every 3 days, and I had all this luggage with me, and I'm like, what am I doing?
Well, Alaska, I was like, it's going to be cold, so I brought like 20 million jackets and like scarves and stuff, and so where are you going to put all that stuff? Like, but everyone else seemed to be totally fine and had 1 suitcase, and I was like, really, Hannah?
Yeah.
Shoes are what take up the most room for me.
I'm the heaviest.
Yeah, it's like you need a whole suitcase for those shoes. Okay, so you've been doing this for 3 years, and you've got, your whole feed is just colorful.
Yeah.
What are some like big goals, big dreams, anything in the works that you'd want to tell people?
So I want to travel a little bit more. I have traveled quite a bit, but I've been really bad about like finding walls when I travel, mainly because I've just like, I've been busy when I get there, or like I end up doing other stuff, and then just kind of slips my mind. I'm like, oh, I have content from Chicago. So I want to get better about doing that. But I also, I left my full-time job in December. I think we've talked about that. And I started my own social media company. So I do social media for clients, for brands, for small things, because it's literally me. It's like a one-man show, one-woman show. Yeah. And so I do that, and so I've traveled a little bit for that recently. But it's just trying to like, scale that now. So it's like I've got my own social media, and now I'm doing social media for other people too.
Oh yeah, have you found it kind of hard to keep juggling both? The thing that people don't realize with media is that it has to be so planned out.
I really only take on clients that I really truly like as people.
So you feel like now they're a priority, which is hard to juggle with your own.
Yeah, and then blog. I own my own photography company too, so I do photography for a bunch of bloggers, and I have a few like restaurant clients and just a few people here and there. So
oh wow, that's a lot to juggle.
I'm trying to like constantly expand, so.
Yeah, and grow in that area.
Yeah.
So what's your media, do you have like a name for it right now?
Yeah, so I have it. I bought the domain. I just haven't made the website because I haven't had time, and I refuse to pay somebody to do it. So my blog is called Fashion Love Letters, so I decided to do a play off that, and it's called Social Love Letters.
Oh, nice. Yes.
So I just figured it was an easy like.
You got the domain for that?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. I think that's gonna have to be a whole nother video topic on that one.
Gossip with Hannah and Denise.
But literally.
I love it. Well, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you.
This was super fun, and for having me over at your place. And then thanks guys for watching The Full Color Life. If you want to check out Denise, just go and visit fashionloveletters.com. Give her a shout out, and then you can follow her on Instagram as well. All right, bye guys. Have a full color day.